On a chill day in the city of Aldea, everything seemed perfectly peaceful. When right off the bat, a redhead girl says she finally found our MC. And tugging at the guy's arm, she lets him know they need to bounce ASAP. Then, at another moment, the same girl rushes him again, making the clearly exhausted kid let out a massive sigh. While a little while later in a busy tavern, the exact same scene plays out. Only this time, a girl in a blue cloak walks up saying she finally found him. And turning on the charm, she invites our hero to head over to her estate. So totally drained from this routine, the kid just takes a deep breath and instantly turns down the offer, claiming he is way too busy today, which leaves a little blonde girl totally confused. Then grabbing his arm tight, the blonde complains, wanting to know why not today since she has free time. And almost in tears, begs him to please hang out and play with her. Which makes our clueless MC wonder how on earth he ended up in this wild situation. And to explain that, we need to rewind time a bit, right to the middle of a pitch-black forest, where two bandits are barking orders at the rookie. Because of that, feeling a bit on edge, our MC Kai agrees with the guys right away. As the bandits, ready to hit the hay, tell him to keep watch since the payout for the hostages is sky-high. And as a final order, the boss tells him to give the hostages a serious beatdown if they start making noise. Except in his head, the kid knows the prisoners do not even have the energy for that. While standing in the dark of the night, he reflects alone on this bizarre predicament. And with his hands on his head, he tries to figure out how everything went so wrong. Suddenly, he remembers trying to save someone and ending up getting run over by a truck, but inexplicably waking up later in this weird place. And looking up at the night sky, he realizes he knows this world a little too well. So putting the pieces together, he notices he is literally inside the fantasy game he was playing the other day. And standing near the bandit camp, he gets the joke. He respawned right on the bad guy's team. So with a slight shiver, he curses his own terrible luck. Until a noise coming from the wagon catches our hero's attention. Then walking up to it, he finds an iron cage and is totally shocked. And inside it, the so-called hostages are actually three girls locked up in the dark. Meanwhile, from the game's lore, the kid knows all the bad guys get completely wiped out, so being there is a massive red flag. So without a second thought, he decides the best play is to dip as fast as possible. Then, checking his own pockets, he finds a map and some cash for the road. And checking the available routes, he figures he can get the heck out of Dodge without an issue. However, before taking off, he takes one last look back. And carefully, he sneaks over and unlocks the iron cage, whispering a proposal for all the prisoners to make a run for it with him. While inside, the three terrified girls stare at the guy, and one of them looks seriously unwell. Then, super suspicious, the redhead asks if he is actually talking about escaping. And glaring at him, she accuses the MC of playing some sick joke to trick the group. Right after, the white-haired girl matches her tone, demanding a good reason to trust him after everything. Which makes the guy stay quiet for a second, trying to cook up an answer. When taking advantage of the pause, the redhead says he has nothing to say and that his little scheme failed. Except in a total pro-gamer move, the kid makes up a story that he infiltrated the enemy ranks and apologizes for taking so long with the rescue. And even knowing he just told a bald-faced lie, he understands that winning their trust right now is the top priority. So rushing the group, he warns them that if they get caught, it is going to be an instant game over for him. But looking down, the redhead reveals her leg is busted, and she is in no shape to run. And pointing to her eyes, the platinum blonde confesses she is completely blind. Then, to make matters worse, the little blonde named Ramai is passed out sick on the floor. So feeling hopeless, the redhead says even if they escape, they will just fade away on the road. But she adds that at least knowing he is not an enemy is enough for her to say thank you, making our MC's heart ache hearing those words. Right then, the little blonde girl groans in pain, reaching her hand out. And with a super weak voice, begs for a lifeline, asking for help. So instantly, the MC shifts his stance, making up his mind. And with a clenched fist, he flat out refuses to leave the three behind, promising to carry anyone who cannot walk and letting them know that running is still way better than staying. Which leaves the girls shocked by his attitude, asking what the heck he is talking about. Then with the map in hand, the kid promises he knows the area and that everything is gonna be totally fine. And standing his ground, he tells the other two to hold on to him, lifting all three of them at once to sprint through the pitch-black forest. While running, he realizes this new body is way more jacked and athletic than his old one. So shaking his head, he pushes those thoughts away and locks in on the getaway. And feeling relieved that nobody is on their tail, he keeps pushing forward. From there, he starts mentally mapping out the route, using the map he snagged earlier. When on the hologram, he sees the city of Aldia with the exact same name it had in the game, giving him a massive confidence boost with this huge advantage in his pocket. And without hesitating, the group presses on, knowing exactly where they are headed. Until they stumble upon a hidden treehouse, and he mentally celebrates the successful escape. Then curious, the blind girl asks where they ended up. And the kid reveals it is a secret hideout he built himself. Then, standing in front of a magically locked door, he tries to remember the passcode. And asking the girls to hold on a sec, he steps up to the portal. Placing his hand on the magic seal to type in the keyword he used back in his gaming days, which makes the door instantly glow blue, unlocking a safe haven for everyone. While inside, our hero confesses he did not even think the place would actually be there. And without wasting time, he lays the little blonde down on the bed to rest, leaving the redhead amazed as she comments that he is definitely no ordinary agent. I mean, building a treehouse in a place like that is straight up unreal. Though mentally the guy agrees with her, he plays it cool saying it was no big deal. Then sounding worried, the redhead asks if Ramai is going to be okay, and the vibe gets heavy. When suddenly, our MC remembers he should have left some items stashed around there. At that moment, the injured girl asks if there is anything to eat. So opening a wooden chest, he mutters to himself looking for some grub. And lucky for him, the system works just like the game, with a bunch of intact potions inside. However, holding the vials, he says he found medicine, but the redhead scolds him, saying a basic potion will not save someone in that bad of a shape. So keeping calm, he just hands her a glowing purple liquid. And brushing it off, he mentions it is not your average meds and should do the trick, making the redhead's eyes instantly pop out of her head the second she recognizes the color of that liquid. While internally, the MC realizes the item seems pretty rare and remembers he never kept junk in his inventory. Because in the game, that potion cured absolutely everything from HP loss to poison and was a total nightmare to craft. And looking at the vial in their hands, the two girls are in absolute disbelief. While doing the math in his head, the kid remembers he has over 100 of these and could make absolute bank selling them. Then, totally floored, the redhead questions who he really is to casually carry such a priceless item. So our hero just sighs. And getting straight to the point, he warns them it is best not to ask any more questions for everyone's sake, telling both of them right after to drink the potion too. And turning his back, he jokes that he does not want to keep carrying 3 people around anymore. But staring at the item, the platinum blonde still doubts if the legendary universal elixir is actually real. So handing over another vial, the MC confirms he has one for her too, which makes the blind girl absolutely amazed after taking a sip, unable to believe the effects. While over by the bed, the guy praises the little blonde's toughness and feeds the potion directly to her. And slowly, the magic liquid goes down the unconscious girl's throat, until in the blink of an eye, her body glows super bright, showing the healing was a massive success. So impressed by seeing the magic actually work, our hero lets out a huge sigh of relief. When opening her eyes, little Ramai says thank you with a really weak voice. So being careful, the guy tells her to keep resting because the potion does not fix mental exhaustion. While bit by bit, the magic healing light starts fading from the room. And gathering the empty bottles, the MC takes a look at the rest of the squad, noticing, to his complete surprise, that the redhead and the platinum blonde are already on their feet, fully healed. And with dollar signs in his eyes, he is already imagining the fat paycheck he is gonna ask for when he takes them home. But the moment gets interrupted by the two of them crying tears of joy because they can finally see and walk again. Then, feeling a bit awkward, he mentions he does not know how long they had been dealing with that. So out of respect, he decides to give them some space to process the miracle. When the next day rolls around, the conversation flows, and the hero finds out they got snatched all the way back in Aldia City. And right then he realizes the place is over 2 towns away. So scratching his head, he points out that the road trip back is going to take a sweet while. But the redhead, feeling spicy, tells him to go complain to his goons since it is entirely their fault. Frustrated, the MC asks if anyone knows how to use teleportation, but the redhead says if they did, they would have bounced ages ago, making our awkward MC let out a nervous chuckle, totally agreeing with her logic. And checking his own stats, He laments being stuck in the body of a low-tier hunter with nothing special, instead of his overpowered main character. While looking at the map, the platinum blonde casually drops that there has only ever been one person in history capable of using teleport magic. So hiding his disappointment, the MC agrees and decides to change the subject real quick. And facing the group, he asks how everyone is holding up today. Then the platinum blonde answers super sweetly, saying she is still getting used to seeing again. And looking a bit shy, the redhead admits her leg is completely fine, dropping a very genuine thank you. Right after, the hothead demands he stop calling her "Hey you," and introduces herself as the noble Karen. Then following her lead, the platinum blonde reveals her name is Nina. And shortly after, they remind him that the sleeping blonde is named Ramai, which makes the hero panic internally at how hard it is to memorize these fantasy names. But staying on mission, he declares that the biggest issue right now is getting all three of them safely back to their city. So full of confidence, Karen asks if he is gonna protect them from the bad guys, but he bursts her bubble saying he cannot promise anything, leaving the girl in shock, throwing a fit to know the reason behind such a cold answer. And with a dead serious look, the kid replies that in a real fight there are zero guarantees of winning. Because deep down, he knows this is not a game anymore and wants to avoid dangerous showdowns at all costs, even knowing the lore. And to explain the situation better, he reminds them there is no way to know the numbers or the strength of the enemies out there. So to make sure everybody makes it out in one piece, the main plan is to avoid trouble as much as humanly possible. After all, everyone here only has one life, and if they get taken out, it is game over. And full of determination, he promises to do the impossible to sneak away without throwing hands with anyone. Then, blunt as always, Karen asks if he has some genius master plan in mind. And laughing nervously, the guy confesses it is tough to answer when she puts that much pressure on him, making him start sweating bullets under the girl's judgmental stares as he tries to compose himself. Then, regaining his cool, he takes a wild guess that the kidnappers are probably keeping tabs on Wafer City. And pointing at the map, he explains the bandits will assume he booked it to the nearest location. So the strategy is to head south through the forest to a camp and pay for a safe carriage. Except sounding worried, Karen reminds him they are completely broke and cannot pay for the ride. But tapping his pouch, the MC assures them he swiped the bandits' cash and they can even buy some new threads. Which leaves Nina super touched by his actions, asking the real reason he is going out of his way to help the group. And straight up puts it out there that he wasted legendary elixirs and spilled secrets an agent would never tell, making our hero caught off guard by her insane logic, stutter without knowing how to tell the truth. So completely backed into a corner, he tells a bold-faced lie that he is an intelligence agent. And to make it sound legit, claims he is only there following orders from the higher-ups. Right at that moment, the little blonde starts waking up on the bed. And noticing the movement, the guy asks if she is finally up. Then with a sleepy voice, little Ramai confirms, but mentions it is already pretty late. So changing the subject, the hero stretches and suggests they go wash up in the river once it gets dark. And right away, the platinum blonde announces she knows purification magic to get everyone squeaky clean. Being way too practical, the MC tells them to use it on Ramai while he goes take a solo bath in the water. But feeling suspicious, the redhead thinks it is super weird that a secret agent does not know such a basic spell. But staying in character, he argues that using magic all the time draws unwanted attention. Right after, the girls use the spell to clean themselves up in the room, while the hero kicks back, enjoying a hot bath down by the river. And with everyone fresh and clean, the crew gathers around the campfire to grub. Then, geared up for the trip, the guy throws on dark armor from head to toe. And taking the lead, calls the girls so they can finally hit the road. Fast forward a week, the guards in Aldia City get an urgent alert. And over at the main gate, the vibe is super tense and chaotic. But to everyone's relief, the squad arrives safe and sound right at the city entrance, making the guard breathe a massive sigh of relief when he recognizes the three nobles, happy to see them in one piece. Then getting straight to it, the redhead points out they owe it all to the armored knight. So totally overwhelmed with gratitude, the soldier bows down and deeply thanks him for the heroic rescue. And right after, asks the ladies to wait inside until their escort arrives. At that exact moment, a curious Nina turns to the MC and asks what he is gonna do with his life now. And chilling in his armor, he replies that he plans to hang around the city for a bit. Then, blunt as usual, Karen asks if he has any actual plans in mind. And sticking his nose in, the guard suggests the warrior probably needs to report his success to HQ. So never missing a beat, the kid agrees and rolls with the lie to avoid any headaches. And after pushing a bit, the soldier invites the hero to claim a reward, but he turns it down saying he is short on time. Since behind the helmet our MC is absolutely beat and just wants to hit the hay. So as a final warning, he tells the girls to follow instructions and not drop their guard until they are safely home. And the redhead happily takes the advice, thanking him one more time for everything. Then in a sweet move, the hero gives Ramai some head pats and says goodbye. And blushing hard, the little blonde just nods in agreement. Then, after leaving the girls in the hands of the guards, he turns his back and walks away. And the desperate soldier tries to stop him to thank him properly, but gets shut down real quick. Because without even looking back, the MC states he is just going to slip into the city and vanish. And politely, the guard captain welcomes the mysterious stranger. While watching the warrior disappear into the crowd, the soldiers are frozen in place. And completely in shock, the captain mutters that the guy is unbelievable, declaring with a cold sweat that the armored knight is an absolute monster. And to back it up, reveals he used an appraisal skill and detected a high-tier item. And to make things crazier, only 2 elite clans have ever managed to clear the dungeon that item came from. Then, jogging his memory, the captain remembers the guy took down the Red Freed Mafia completely solo. Besides rescuing 3 hostages without a single scratch and operating with pure stealth. So looking at all the evidence, the soldier is 100% sure he just crossed paths with a legendary veteran. But feeling outraged, one of the junior guards complains that the boss did not even ID the guy. Which makes the furious captain cut the rookie off, asking if he wants to treat a hero like a criminal. And firmly warns that they absolutely cannot offend someone who just saved the 3 most VIP girls in the region. When right on cue, another soldier points out the guy was handing out universal elixirs like they were tap water, making the captain's eyes bug out the second he hears about the legendary potion. And as living proof, the guard reports that the noble's illnesses and broken bones vanished instantly, mentioning in awe that the warrior handed out the rare items without batting an eye. And full of nerves, the guards admit the stranger's flex is pure insanity. So panicking over the situation, the boss orders an immediate report to the higher-ups and the guild, making the underlings bolt right away to spread the word. After all, young Karen is the daughter of the most prestigious ducal house in the nobility. And peaceful Nina carries the direct bloodline of the Holy Church's founders, while little Ramai is the heir to the biggest trade empire on the continent. So putting the puzzle pieces together, the captain figures the masked guy was casually hanging with the top 1% without breaking a sweat, plus carrying god-tier items and turning down any reward like it was pocket change. And in his head, the only logical explanation is that our MC has to be from the Empire's secret forces. Meanwhile, far away from all that drama, the hero is walking around completely mesmerized by the city. And soaking in the details, notices the streets are an exact match to the original game, spotting the massive Hunters Guild building from a distance. But even though he wants to explore everything, his body is running on fumes. And to top off the awkward vibe, everyone on the street cannot stop staring at the new guy, making him wonder what the big deal is, getting a bit weirded out by a little kid staring him down, since he naively thought he would see a ton of people rocking heavy armor downtown, but quickly realizes his own rare gear is practically glowing and drawing way too much attention. So totally defeated by exhaustion, he decides to make a run for an inn. Until out of nowhere, a little girl hugs his leg, screaming about how cool he is, leaving the armored knight completely lost and frozen in the middle of the street. While back at a crazy fancy mansion, a scream of relief echoes through the halls, where the redhead's dad is ugly crying, hugging his daughter through his tears. But having zero patience for it, the girl tells the old man to take a breath and stop making a scene. Then, mid-meltdown, the dad notices his daughter is walking perfectly and apologizes for the drama. So Karen explains her leg was healed thanks to a universal elixir, doing a little spin to show it off, and hypes up how the mystery man pulled out the legendary potion like it was the most normal thing in the world, explaining the warrior handed over the item without missing a beat and turned down any reward, leaving the noble super intrigued by the story, making him read the report to double-check the facts. Until suddenly, the redhead catches a new detail and asks if the hero was acting on his own. And staying calm, her dad explains he did not send anyone, and if he had one of those elixirs, he would have used it on her ages ago. Making the girl thoughtfully conclude that the agent lied just to keep the group calm during the escape. While analyzing the situation, the head of the family deduces the man is intelligence because he knew about the Red Freed Mafia, and that the knight had insider info on the crime syndicate. Except the hero's only mission was to rescue the girls, which means he must have broken his organization's rules. So determined to help, Karen's dad decides to send an official letter of gratitude to protect their savior. But feeling anxious, the redhead thinks that will draw away too much attention and make the agent's punishment even worse. And finally asks if her dad knows which secret organization he belongs to. So getting serious, he reveals he got a message 2 days ago saying the Red Freed had been taken down. And looking at the map route, he figures out the hero looped around Wafer to avoid the thugs. Then staying sharp, Karen points out the knight's tactical genius, which makes the dad, totally sold on the facts, state that the savior's profile perfectly matches his suspicions. And he reveals that the ones responsible for busting the mafia are from the Direct Control Squad, Verder. Leaving his daughter completely shook, repeating the name of the most feared imperial force out there. Since in practice, the Verder group operates directly under the Empire's orders to maintain public order at any cost. Plus, there are rumors that the squad is made up of the absolute best hunters in the world, making them basically the elite of the elite when it comes to military power. So given all that, the dad concludes the hero must hold a high rank and gets a free pass for solo missions. And to play it safe, he tells Karen to keep her mouth shut so she does not blow the savior's cover, swearing to return the favor whatever it takes as a sign of gratitude. And since the warrior ghosted them in the city, he orders his daughter to call the maid Lifia to kick off the search, making the redhead quickly agree and sprint out of the room. While left alone in his office, the noble sits back in his armchair to think. And deep down, prays the knight is a heavy hitter in Verder so he does not face any backlash. Because according to the rules of the power game, he knows the other two families are also on the hunt for the masked guy. Until the next day at the inn, the vibe is nothing but pure peace, where the owner, chowing down on a nice steak, thanks the young man for not causing any trouble. And making small talk, mentions that the kid in the black armor was polite as can be. While relaxing with his meal, the MC listens to the guy praising his quiet nature, completely oblivious to the truth. Then writing the conversation, the owner asks if the kid comes from far away and he nods yes. Until out of nowhere, a soldier busts through the tavern door, grabbing everyone's attention. And in a huge rush, asks if anyone has seen a knight in black armor around, making the MC and the innkeeper share a panicked look instantly. And in full panic mode, the hero mentally begs the old man to hide the truth. So playing it smart, the owner lies right to his face, saying he has not seen anyone and that the Duke is overreacting. But feeling suspicious, the guard presses him, asking again, which makes the old man play it off well despite sweating bullets, while the MC thanks the heavens for his acting skills. Then sighing in frustration, the soldier buys the answer and thanks him for cooperating. And with the door closed, silence takes over the inn once more. Except just when the MC thought the nightmare was over, someone else walks through the door. And this time, it is a nun from the Holy Church asking about the black gear. So with a quick shove, the old man tells the kid to hide behind the counter and makes up an excuse, awkwardly letting the nun know he has not seen anyone matching that description around, which makes her accept the answer, thank him for his time, and head out. But barely after the door shuts, a soldier from the Trade Council barges in, leaving the hero practically crying on the floor as he curls up behind the counter to stay out of sight. And once again, the bar owner drops the same lame excuse to save the kid, making the guard, tired of searching, say goodbye and lament his failure. And finally alone, the innkeeper calls for the kid shaking under the counter. Then, absolutely terrified, the kid crawls out of hiding, trying to process what just went down. While the old man, hands on his head, asks what kind of crime he committed to have the top 3 superpowers in the city hunting him down. So super confused, the MC swears he has no clue and thinks he must have messed up without realizing it, causing the panic to truly set in, as the old man tells the kid to figure something out fast before the bar gets shut down for good. And stuck in this mess, our MC can only think about how to drop off the grid. Meanwhile, far away, Karen's older sister is checking the redhead's feet to make sure everything is perfectly fine. And staying chill, the girl lets her know her leg does not hurt at all anymore and is totally healed. while sitting on the bed, thanking her for the care and confessing she is going to miss their little routine. Which makes the older sister celebrate the recovery, but feel a bit empty missing their old habits. Then changing the subject, Karen's mind goes right back to the masked warrior. And feeling worried, she cannot fathom how a guy that flashy has not been spotted in the entire city. Figuring the hero is actively trying to shake off the search parties. So pulling up a chair, the sister agrees and says their dad thinks the exact same thing. Making the redhead softly vent her fear that their savior might get punished for burning the legendary elixir. And with her hands on her hips, she recalls how the knight tried to pretend the potion was just from his personal stash. Because clearly, he was trying to hide his ties to the organization at all costs. So taking a deep sigh, she prays he does not get hit with any severe penalties. Then teasing a bit, the sister points out it is rare to see Karen acting so worried and cute. And shrugging it off, the redhead defends herself, saying the hero rescued everyone single-handedly and totally deserves the love. Turning beet red as she crosses her arms and complains about her sister's teasing. Because the way she sees it, the hero really put his neck on the line to save them all, even knowing the risks from his own organization. And to top it off, Nina and Ramai's families said the exact same thing over the last hour. But Karen insists she is the one who thinks about their savior the most. Which instantly makes her sister laugh and tease the girl, saying that is a totally guaranteed crush. Meanwhile, back at the inn, the owner tries to calm the MC down, assuring him he didn't do anything wrong. But despite the comfort, rumors are spreading like wildfire on the streets, and the manhunt for the Black Knight is only getting crazier. And stating the facts, the old man swears no one but the kid himself could be the masked guy. Making the MC feel cornered, and ask what the punishment would be if the rumors are actually true. Then giving the worst-case scenario, the innkeeper bets the three families would banish the kid from the city forever. And feeling sorry for him, admits that hiding the kid is weighing heavy on his conscience, but advises against switching inns right now. Making things even worse by dropping that the bounty for turning the hero in just hit 3 million at the city council. Which completely freaks the kid out over the insane amount of money, screaming to ask why the old man has not turned him in yet. So laughing in his face, the owner lets him know the three families are operating under the table to keep things quiet. And finally suggests the MC put on his armor and sneak out to enjoy the festival. Making the hero mentally exhausted, just nod and walk away from the counter with his head down. With the owner wishing him luck and telling him to enjoy the city while he still can. So hyped up by the idea, the MC decides to make the most of the day before inevitably getting kicked out tomorrow morning. And strolling through the streets, he watches the sunset, trying to find some humor in the whole mess. Until suddenly, he spots the city's massive clock tower. And he remembers how he used to love climbing that exact clock tower back in the day, right at this same time. So even knowing the entry fee is a total scam, he heads straight for the ticket booth. And determined to relive the memory, he hikes up the floors taking in the view. But reaching the top, a major surprise flips the vibe. Since the place was supposed to be empty, but someone is already up there admiring the scenery. Being an elegant woman dressed in black wearing a mysterious mask, just waiting in silence. And noticing the kid's presence, the red-haired lady turns around slowly, leaving our MC completely mesmerized by her beauty and frozen in his tracks, making him stutter a bit as he barely manages to drop a simple hello. Then politely, the lady replies and welcomes him to the top of the tower. And right on cue, the hero remembers an in-game rumor about a secret encounter with a woman at the clock tower. So playing it safe, he keeps his distance, thinking this might be that exact game event. While acting super friendly, the masked woman praises the view, saying it is perfect for clearing the mind. And agreeing, the hero admits the scenery is totally breathtaking. Then out of curiosity, the woman asks the real reason a kid is hanging out in a place like this. And looking a bit down, he confesses he needed to clear his head from some drama. Then switching gears, the lady asks if he happens to know the man wearing the black armor. Making the MC gulp hard, Loki panicking thinking his cover is blown. And trying to play it cool, he awkwardly mentions that the masked guy is the talk of the town right now. So being totally honest, the woman admits she is also hunting for the hero and would love to meet him face to face. Which makes the kid ask, fearing some serious trouble if the Black Knight actually did something wrong. But laughing, she swears he is not wanted for anything bad. And right after explains that the authorities just want to thank him, though the details are strictly classified. leaving the MC super relieved by the answer, letting his guard down just a little. Since just knowing he is not being hunted down for punishment takes a massive weight off his shoulders. Until right at that moment, a luxury carriage pulls up to the base of the tower. And spotting the ride, the mystery lady realizes her lift has arrived. So acting curious, the MC asks if she has to take off already. And the woman promises they will make some progress on the search soon, saying her goodbyes, leaving a trail of pure mystery in the air as she heads down the tower stairs. While alone on the observation deck, the hero watches the woman leave. And then thinks for a second, having absolutely zero clue who the masked chick was. Meanwhile, outside the tower, the woman hops into the carriage and meets up with Karen, who is rushing her, insisting they need to roam the city in masks to try and find the hero without drawing heat. But her sister teases her, complaining she got dragged along just to be an extra in her crazy master plan, making the masked woman laugh at the situation and apologize for being so sassy, and ultimately admitting she was just happy her sister came to pick her up at the tower. Then during the ride, she spills that she met a guy up at the clock tower, which makes Karen, totally plugged into the rumors, think the stranger was fishing for info about the citywide manhunt. But the lady assures her she was suspicious at first too, and that the chat was super chill with zero hidden agendas, claiming it was a special and really peaceful time just talking to him. Plus mentioning she asked about the Black Knight just to double check, but the kid did not know a thing, leaving Karen super bummed out, mourning the fact that her dad thinks the hero already bounced from the city. Until out of nowhere, the masked woman remembers a striking detail about the tower guy, and the redhead freezes, practically begging out of curiosity to know exactly what the dude her sister met looked like. Then describing him perfectly, the lady recalls he was a charming guy with a super calm vibe and a scar on the left side of his face, making Karen instantly scream, declaring the Black Knight had that exact same scar. And without a second thought, she throws open the carriage window in a panic, yelling at the driver and ordering him to pull a U-turn straight back to the clock tower, which leaves her sister freaked out, asking if she is absolutely sure about this wild deduction. But in total shock, the redhead connects the dots and realizes there is a massive chance the stranger is the hero in disguise. And super annoyed she wasn't told earlier, explains that the scar was a secret between her and her dad, leaving her sister absolutely speechless as the weight of that info hits her. So at top speed, the carriage pulls a crazy drift on the empty street, and sprinting as fast as humanly possible, the two of them jump out of the cabin heading straight for the clock tower, full of hope they can make it in time before the kid pulls a disappearing act. Then, totally desperate, the two of them reach the top of the tower completely out of breath. But to the little redhead's dismay, the observation deck is totally empty because the guy already dipped. Meanwhile, on the other side of town lies the Treasure Hunters Guild headquarters, where inside the guild master is flipping out because he has zero intel on the Black Knight. And reading the report confirms that the masked guy is most likely from the Imperial Verder Squad. Since completely solo, the hero did not just save the daughters of the top 3 local families, he also totally dismantled the mafia. And analyzing the whole mess, the leader points out that kidnapping nobles of that level is practically a direct attack on the Empire. So looking at this chaos, it makes total sense that Verder itself got deployed to clean up the mess. And to make his anxiety even worse, the master complains that literally nobody in the city can get a hold of the knight, to the point of desperately begging his underlings to accidentally bump into the guy just to spark up a conversation. But ironically, even that master plan tanked because the hero helped a little girl who bumped into him and just kept on walking, leaving the spies completely frozen, only managing to say thanks and watch the dude vanish into the crowd. Then feeling defeated, the leader sighs and just wants the hero to head back to the capital ASAP to dodge any more headaches. Until suddenly, the office door gets kicked wide open by the receptionist. And in full panic mode, the girl announces that the masked guy just walked right into the guild, making the master think she is messing with him, telling her to knock it off. But looking at the open door, he realizes this is the real deal. And down in the main lobby, the imposing black armor is turning the heads of every single hunter in the room, which makes the leader sprint out instantly to greet the VIP visitor. While right behind him, the receptionist is practically cracking up at her boss's sudden attitude change. And trying to hold back their giggles, the hunters whisper about how bizarre the master's polite posture is. So sweating bullets, the leader asks the reason behind such a VIP's visit, And hiding his nerves, our MC says he just came to take a look around the place, which makes the master quickly welcome him and thank him for dropping by, while mentally spinning 1,000 conspiracy theories about what taking a look around actually means. And totally clueless, the hero wonders if he said something dumb to freak the boss out. While with open hands, the leader tries to clear up the misunderstanding, swearing everything is perfectly fine. Since in his head, taking a look means a full-blown recon mission disguised as a casual visit. And in milliseconds, he figures it is not worth bluffing against someone that ridiculously overpowered. Long story short, the guild leader thinks he is dealing with a next-level strategic monster. And acting like a total fanboy, remembers he always dreamed of joining Verder but was never buff enough. But now with a living legend right in front of him, he truly grasps the insane power gap. So keeping his cool, he invites the masked guy into his office if he wants to inspect the place, which makes the kid accept right away, thinking it is just standard guild procedure. And while they walk up the stairs, the entire lobby starts spilling the tea about the visit. And at the tables, the hunters waste no time and start shooting the breeze. Because to most of the tavern crowd, the whole situation is just pure theater and blown-up rumors. But a few members notice the hero's vibe is way too chill for someone supposedly dangerous. Plus, the warrior was walking with his guard completely down, like he was daring someone to strike first. And coming to the conclusion that a hunter this relaxed could obliterate anyone, they get full-body chills. Totally backing down, assuming that in hand-to-hand combat, the entire guild would get wiped out. And deep down, they wonder if the masked guy is buff enough to throw hands with an S-rank beast. While far from there, our MC complains that the guild folks themselves are spreading even more wild legends. And inside, he feels like with every step, his lie just gets bigger and way more out of control. Until after the quick tour, the guild master personally sees the night out the door, making the hero sweat buckets of anxiety, swearing to never set foot in that place again. Venting that he thought the guild would just do a background check, but the vibe was straight up weird. And replaying the moment, he shivers remembering all the terrifying and intense glares from everyone inside. But the wildest part is not figuring out why the guild master was so polite, instead of being a jerk like in the original game. And cluelessly wonders why on earth he ended up getting the VIP treatment from the hunters. However, even with the scare, the little walk was kinda cool to see the city and beat the boredom. So deciding to keep his stroll going, the kid takes a confident step into the street. But walking through a crowd in such flashy armor totally ruins any chance of peaceful sightseeing. Until suddenly, he hears the sound of a carriage pulling up right behind him. And shooting out the door like lightning, Karen points her finger right in the hero's face, cheering that she found him, leaving him frozen when he realizes the carriage crest belongs to the hothead's noble family. And not even trying to hide her annoyance, the redhead demands answers, asking where he has been hiding. Which makes the MC point to the side, confessing he spent all this time chilling at the downtown inn, leaving the girl absolutely floored as she complains that the old bartender lied right to her face about not seeing the Black Knight. Then with a cheeky grin, the MC admits he asked the innkeeper for that tiny little favor, making Karen instantly deflate, totally speechless that she got played by a local bartender. So trying to dodge the blame, the masked guy suggests he is just really good at playing hide and seek. And annoyed by the joke, the girl grumbles that she does not want to hear any more lame excuses. Right after, a sweet feminine voice from inside the carriage grabs the redhead's attention. And from the tone of her voice and hair color, the hero recognizes the person instantly. As stepping out of the ride, the mystery lady from the clock tower officially introduces herself as Lifia. And without her mask, she apologizes for the delay and thanks him once again for the rescue, politely asking if the knight might have a little free time right now, which makes him immediately foresee a massive headache, wondering what is gonna happen if he accepts the invite. But quick on the draw, the redhead lets him know the plan is to head straight to the mansion for a formal thank you. So totally deadpan, the kid replies he is busy and shoots down the invite on the spot. Since despite his heroism, he feels like if he messes up in front of the nobles, he might end up permanently out of the game. And noticing his hesitation, the two sisters let out a little giggle at the guy's obvious nerves. Then refusing to take no for an answer, Karen grabs his hand by force. And blushing hard, insists that at least this one time, he should let her family show some proper gratitude, hugging his armored arm super tight to drag the warrior into the carriage, making the totally defeated MC step into the ride, accepting his fate. And on the way, the redhead smiles proudly for finally capturing their runaway hero. But the kid feels like he literally just got arrested and taken into custody. When grateful for his help, Lifia states the rescue didn't just save their lives, but also the dukedom's reputation. And resigned, the guy agrees, thinking all the crazy hype finally makes sense. Then shifting focus, Karen points her finger and says she needs to clear up a serious question, making the MC hiding in his helmet mentally complain about her scary, formal tone. But losing her patience, the redhead drops the act and goes right back to yelling like usual. Which makes the hero give a quick wave, telling the girl to just spit it out already. And straight to the point, she asks if he blew a bunch of legendary potions for nothing during the rescue. Because, completely guilt-ridden, she thinks he ghosted the city because he got in trouble with his organization. So calming the girl down, the warrior promises the items were his own stash, and there is zero drama. Leaving Lifia surprised, her eyes wide as she confirms the magic potions are actually real. While a worried redhead asks if keeping such a massive treasure all to himself is not super dangerous, and anxiously asks the hero to explain the whole deal and how he scored the loot. Making the kid internally freak out, having no clue how to cook up an excuse to dodge the interrogation. And feeling cornered, he realizes he needs to convince them both that everything is completely peachy. So as a final Hail Mary, he tells her he has zero regrets, and all that matters is that her leg is healed. And with a smooth, flirty tone, tells her to just enjoy life and let him handle his own problems. Which makes the little redhead instantly turn bright red like a tomato, as pure silence takes over the carriage. Leaving Lifia super impressed too, thanking him once again for his incredibly kind words. Until switching the vibe, the MC raises a finger and asks them for a tiny favor. And paying close attention, the two stare at the knight waiting for his mystery request. While outside, the luxury carriage rolls through the streets heading straight for the Duke's mansion. And looking dead serious, the guy asks the girls to step in if he accidentally acts rude in front of their dad. Leaving Karen totally shocked, her eyes wide open, not getting the reason behind such a basic request. And baffled, the redhead yells that he handed out a legendary potion and does not even want cash for it. Which makes him lie to justify it, saying he is just a commoner and is terrified of offending the nobles. Since deep down, he knows that keeping his head attached to his neck and not getting wiped out is the best reward possible. Then in total silence, the two sisters look at each other, trying to process the stranger's lame excuse. But to Lifia, hiding a noble identity behind such a basic fear seems incredibly sus. And the way he dodged the question makes her think the excuse was poorly crafted on purpose. But even so, the older sister agrees to the request and promises to have his back. Meanwhile, Karen crosses her arms, swearing her dad would never get mad at their family's savior. And politely, Lifia also agrees to cover up any slip-ups he makes during the meetup. Until making a joke out of it, the redhead asks if he plans on keeping the helmet on the whole time. And rubbing the back of his neck, the warrior admits it would be pretty rude not to show his face. Which makes Karen laugh and clarify that she does not care about the armor, but she would absolutely love to see his face without the gear. And blushing at her own comment, the hothead gets scolded by her sister for being so unladylike. Leaving the hero surprised by the bickering, just watching the two of them trade jabs. While on the other side, Lifia smiles, totally satisfied with the light-hearted banter between her sister and their savior. Because in her mind, the masked guy is the most sincere and noble man she has ever met. And the whole excuse about the armor and being a scared commoner is just an act to keep his secret organization cover intact. So seeing all that modesty and strength, she does not judge her little sister for clearly crushing hard on him. Since from her experience the more fame a hero gets, the more their ego blows up. Not to mention people around them quickly get super jealous of someone else's success. And almost always, these warriors start flexing their gold and power just to show off their status. But that knight sitting right in front of her took down a deadly mafia and still stays insanely humble. Making her feel an unpayable debt, admiring how the guy does not exploit their family's vulnerability. Then to break the ice, Karen confesses she is starting to get really nervous about the visit. And taking the opening, the warrior teases her, calling the redhead totally uncool for being so uptight. Making her furious, pointing her finger and screaming that she is not scared, just anxious about the preparations. Which makes Lifia laugh at her little sister's outburst, genuinely enjoying the comedic scene. Because the way she sees it, the secret agent teased the girl on purpose just to clear the tension in the air. Since as the Duke's daughter, Karen always had to deal with fake nobles and annoying politicians. And because of her age gap, a lot of the ladies also isolated her at social events. To make it worse, guys only ever hit on her because they were hunting for a future power marriage, leaving the isolated redhead without a single real friend to just act like a normal girl her age. And at the end of the day, the other nobles would just walk right past without giving the poor girl the time of day. So feeling happy about the situation, Lifia absolutely loves seeing the hero put up with her sister's annoying antics with such good humor. Until unable to handle the boredom, the redhead grabs her sister by the arm, demanding they hurry back home. And quietly sitting on the bench, our MC just sighs, watching the chaotic duo do their thing. While in the noble's mind, he hid his true power and rode in the carriage just so he wouldn't tarnish the Duke's honor. Plus casually handing over an ultra-rare potion that could buy entire cities without asking for a single dime. Making the completely mesmerized lady doubt there is another man on earth with a heart that pure. And with rosy cheeks, she is already cooking up a master plan to keep the warrior around. So getting practical, she asks how long the knight plans on staying in town. And flashing a charming smile, offers up a luxury pad in case he wants to move in. But being honest, the MC praises the city and lets her know his stay purely depends on his mood. Which to the noble translates to, his stay depends entirely on his secret organization's missions. Reflecting that as long as this knight keeps fighting in the shadows, the whole empire will stay safe. And totally hypnotized by the hero, the woman wonders if it is too selfish to want to trap him in the city. But deep down, her sister's massive crush on him ends up being super contagious. While completely oblivious to the massive problem brewing, our MC is just trying to get comfortable on the carriage seat. Until arriving at the ducal mansion, the sheer scale of the place would drop anyone's jaw. And without missing a beat, the knight opens the carriage door for the ladies. When out in the main courtyard, dozens of servants and soldiers line up to form a welcome tunnel, leaving the kid totally confused by the red carpet treatment, wondering what the heck is going on. While absolutely glowing, Lifia explains that this is their family's ultimate display of respect, making the guy panicking from all the eyes on him almost drop his tough guy act. But hiding his freakout, he warns them that all this partying is going to draw some unwanted heat. And with a confident smirk, Lifia promises that anyone who has a problem with it will have to deal with the guards. Which makes the MC gulp hard and just roll with the parade, terrified of whatever punishment awaits anyone who disrespects them. Since knowing noble etiquette, he knows he cannot turn down the escort if he wants to make it out of there in one piece. Until suddenly, the head maid and the captain of the guard drop to their knees on the stone floor, and bowing their heads, thank him for the massive honor of the Black Hero's visit. When quickly, the old housekeeper stands up, announcing that the masters are waiting in the main hall. Then with a slight bow, Lifia thanks the escort and lets him know the two of them are going to change outfits. And jokingly says she will be waiting in the other room in case the MC needs that little backup they agreed on. While her little sister nods seriously, agreeing to jump in fast if their dad starts freaking out. Leaving the kid all alone at the entrance with the guards, starting to sweat bullets all over again. And in the blink of an eye, the captain steps up to guide their guest, politely asking to hold the warrior's black sword for security reasons. And stunned by how fast the guy hands over his weapon, the guard asks if the knight is absolutely sure. Which makes the hero tell him to chill, saying it is totally normal to disarm inside a noble's crib. Actually, he confesses that he is way more dangerous fighting barehanded than with a sword anyway. Leaving the servants absolutely floored by that flex, their eyes wide open in pure shock. While the terrified captain swallows hard, realizing the monstrous confidence of the masked man. But underneath that helmet, our MC is not joking at all and means every single word. Because back in his gamer days, he respawned in the body of a dude with absolutely busted physical stats. And thanks to his glitchy reflexes, using some random weapon always ruined his combat flow. So as a result, he feels like throwing hands is 1,000 times better for totally wrecking his enemies. Except way outside that internal logic, the captain can only see the stranger as a literal lord of destruction. And leading the way, the old maid guides the unarmed monster down the hallways. Until standing right in front of the main hall doors, the kid's heart starts racing like crazy. And with his hand on the doorknob, he prays the meeting wraps up fast and without any casualties. Meanwhile, out in the courtyard, the captain of the guard cannot take his eyes off the black sword. Because according to the game system, the divine blade never breaks and slices through literally anything. Then seizing the moment, the guard teases Karen and says she can hold the weapon as long as he supervises, making the super hyped little redhead run like a hurricane over to the soldier, and jumping up and down, eager to test out her savior's legendary sword. Totally mesmerized as she locks eyes on the dark, polished metal. While full of joy, she demands the captain show her the weapon already. And smiling at the girl, the guard presents the blade looking like a razor-sharp jewel, leaving Karen curious, thinking the sword is way too pretty and doubting its actual durability in a fight. Which makes the fascinated captain agree, but points out that the sword straight up looks like a masterpiece. While glowing in the sunlight, the black metal totally hypnotizes both of them out there in the yard. And rubbing her chin, Lifia tries to guess the fighting style of a warrior who skips the heavy armor, figuring the stranger must be a tactical genius who prioritizes speed over raw brute strength. Until distracted by the chat, Karen reaches out her hand to grab the divine sword. And in that exact millisecond, the item's unreal weight catches the girl totally off guard, making the panicked captain try to help as he watches the girl faceplant straight forward. And lacking any muscle, the tiny noble loses her balance and the blade plummets to the ground, slicing right through the courtyard stone like a hot knife through butter. And for a split second, the whole crew freezes at the sound of the clean cut, leaving Karen in pure disbelief, stuttering and having no clue what to do about this insane scene. And absolutely shook, the captain and Lifia scream seeing the stone chopped in half with zero effort, making the woman realize with her own eyes that any armor would be completely useless against that weapon. And shaking, the captain remembers the masked guy said he hits harder with his bare hands. So he sprints over instantly to check if the young lady got sliced up in the accident. And stuttering in terror, swears he will tell the master that the whole mess was his fault, not hers. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, the meeting in the main hall is going down over some fancy tea. And right at the hall doors, the two sisters are eavesdropping, staying super quiet, with the Duke's booming voice echoing inside, deeply thanking the mysterious hero for his help. Which catches Karen off guard, noticing her dad's tone of voice is way more humble than usual. And shaking her head, Lifia agrees and breaks down the obvious reason why. Since just by listening through the door, they can tell even the Almighty Lord has bowed down to the masked man. Because due to his political standing, the Duke usually has to flex dominance so he never shows weakness. And with her hand on her chest, the older sister sighs seeing her dad's power completely crushed by gratitude, leaving Karen totally deflated, feeling bad that her family has to lower their heads just because of her kidnapping. But out of nowhere, the door creaks and that deep reflective vibe goes straight down the drain. When peeking through the crack, Lifia asks if her sister seriously still has time to whine. And confused, the little redhead does not get why she is getting lectured by her older sister. So deadpan and direct, Lifia reminds her the girl literally just destroyed the mansion's stone courtyard, which makes it click and Karen freezes, remembering she wrecked the dukedom's main sidewalk with someone else's sword. And crying in despair, she whines that now her dad is going to end her for real over this mess. While pointing a finger, her sister points out she also totally broke the trust of the captain who let her hold the weapon, making the redhead scream quietly, freaking out because nobody warned her the sword was that sharp and ridiculously heavy. But laughing at the tragedy, Lifia just watches her sister cry a river right in front of the hall. And trying not to bust a gut, the sister tells Karen to quit her complaining. After all, she is fully healed now and has the rest of her life to enjoy the good stuff, making the girl super hyped by the idea, promised to have a blast with her brand new legs. While with a sweet smile, Lifia watches her little sister's excitement. And nodding along, Karen agrees, looking way more chill now. Then changing the subject, the older woman points out that the hero really tried to hide his true power, and that if the emperor finds out about him burning a legendary elixir, the warrior could be in massive trouble. So because of that sacrifice, Karen promises to reward the masked guy the absolute best way possible. Until getting curious, Lifia remembers a super weird detail from the report and shares her doubts, pointing out that according to the paperwork, the guy turned down prizes and acted like the whole rescue was just another Tuesday, when in the real world, a duke's rewards would make any normal person's eyes pop out of their head. And with cash, land, or pure power on the line, nobody would dare turn down a paycheck from the nobles. Which makes her completely laser-focused sister say she just wants to see his face again. Leaving a jealous Karen screaming, letting her know she would rather be the only one who does not see the MC's face. And laughing, Lifia teases her, calling the youngest a jealous brat who wants the warrior all to herself. So trying to defend herself, the little redhead spills how she saw a scar on their savior's eye during the rescue, which makes the older sister suddenly perfectly understand the reason behind her obsession. And immediately, Karen pouts, totally denying she feels anything deep for the stranger. While with the hallway dead quiet, the two exchange a look packed with primetime soap opera tension. And totally flustered, the youngest insists it is just pure gratitude and nothing else. While the girls' chaos was running wild, the adult meeting in the room was tense as heck. Where sipping tea, Karen had prayed her dad wouldn't scare away their savior. And in the main hall, the vibe was far from chill, with pure pressure dominating the room. With the Duke and his wife sweating bullets, staring down the armored giant with absolute dread. Since sitting right in front of them, the Black Knight stayed completely statue, still without moving a single muscle. And not getting the warrior's posture, the noble questioned the reason why he was not demanding a single thing. Because from the Duke's POV, the stranger was playing the modesty card on purpose to avoid insulting the family. And out of sheer respect, the hero showed zero signs of wanting to cash in on the owed favors. Besides saving his daughters, the Lord feared the agent was secretly testing the nobility's honor. After all, the Duke was in no position to turn down any demand the masked guy threw at him. And knowing Werther's ties to the Empire, the Lord understood the kid was part of the country's top-tier elite, making him basically someone with enough heavy backing to snap any politician in half. So by giving absolutely nothing away through his armor, the hero was giving the dukedom's rulers the serious creeps. Making the sweating wife on the couch whisper a suggestion that they might be facing a hardcore loyalty test. And thinking fast, the dad figured it was super dangerous to treat the guest casually without strict formalities. So stuck between a rock and a hard place, the Duke starts cooking up 1,004D chess theories. And feeling cornered, views the warrior's silence as a straight-up ultimatum from the shadows. To make it worse, the Lord deduces that if the masked guy leaves the house empty-handed, the whole family would be completely disgraced. Until suddenly the knight shifts his posture on the seat, making his armor click and the entire room freezes. With the terrified Duke thinking their guest had finally run out of patience, and instantly realizing there is zero room to mess up this negotiation. So using the sacred elixir as an excuse, the Lord finally steps up to put an offer on the table. And polite but direct, starts saying the family is beyond honored. Besides shaking in his boots, as he apologizes for taking so long to offer a reward worthy of a hero. Which makes the MC, sighing in relief on the inside, just nod along to wrap up the meeting. While smiling, the Duke's wife adds that the reward is a point of pride for their entire noble house. And feeling totally relieved, the Lord starts listing off the payment terms for the rescue. Where holding up 3 fingers, he offers a private mansion, a mountain of cash, and the political backing of the dukedom. Making the kid, completely caught off guard, drop his act and choke, unable to believe these insane prizes. While across the table, the authorities humbly beg the Black Knight to accept their little token of appreciation. Because in the Lord's head, handing a secret base of operations to an Empire agent is an absolute masterstroke. That way, the dukedom also scores major brownie points directly with the Emperor's top soldiers. And totally stoked about his new fortune, the warrior accepts the bundle on the spot, sealing the deal. Which makes the Duke flash a victorious little smirk, convinced he just passed the invisible loyalty test. And with the tension finally gone, suggests his daughters give him the grand tour of his new mansion today. Making the MC happily agree and swear to take good care of the luxury real estate. Then the Duke's wife quickly orders the guards to fetch their daughters to escort the guest. And standing up with perfect posture, the lady asks the knight to follow the hallway and be guided to the parlor. Which makes the awkward MC just nod, slipping out quietly. And when the giant doors shut, the silence in the main hall weighs a literal ton. Making the Duke, with his hands shaking like crazy, sink into his chair, finally relaxing his tense muscles. And wiping the sweat from his forehead, vent about the massive relief he feels after making it out of that meeting in one piece. Muttering as his final thought that he totally agrees with his daughter, that warrior is truly built different. While right outside the door, the masked guy stretches his arms, letting out all the air he was holding in from pure anxiety. Leaving Karen surprised by his loose vibe, pointing her finger as she notices his funny, deflated look. And hiding his embarrassment, the kid jokes that the armor is really good at hiding his emotions. Until being super sweet, Lifia invites the guy to grab some tea and take a breather after the bizarre meetup with her parents. And getting back to business, the redhead complains about his total lack of hype after scoring 3 mega rewards. Getting annoyed, thinking he could have at least faked a tiny smile when he literally became a millionaire villa owner. While kicking his feet up, the MC bites his tongue to keep from admitting he was having a total joy-induced heart attack on the inside. Since behind the helmet, the kid mentally confesses that bagging a literal mountain of cash out of nowhere is just way too crazy. And honestly admits that if he were alone, he would be doing backflips of pure joy. But not losing focus, the older sister jumps into the chat, wanting to clear up one final detail about the reward. And sincerely letting him know that if the prize is not enough, now is the time for the hero to demand literally anything else from the dukedom. Which makes him think it is wild, hiding a cheeky smile since his pockets are already stuffed and he has a mansion to call his own without needing anything else. And getting back to chill mode, tries to hide his excitement so he does not break his serious agent persona. Then changing the topic, Karen wants to know if gifting one of their mansions is gonna hurt the family's assets. And flashing a calm smile, Lifia replies that the dukedom owns a bunch of villas, and this one has zero sentimental value attached to it. Leaving the redhead bothered, grumbling that the new house is way too massive for one dude to live in all by himself. Since compared to the family's main crib, the villa is really not that far behind in size. Which scares the kid, making him finally grasp just how stupidly luxurious his little gift really is. Because in his head, only a totally unhinged noble would hand over a top-tier estate just to say thanks. And acting slick, the redhead teases him, asking if he plans on moving anyone else into the mansion with him. Making the MC, safe inside his helmet, laugh nervously as he swears he is only using the pad as a personal base. Which to Lifia sounds completely normal, since a famous hero usually does not have a wife or any steady partner. Until a curious youngest sister asks point-blank if the black hero has any love interests at the moment. Leaving Lifia blushing hard and cutting her sister off for dropping such an invasive question. And breaking the awkwardness, the warrior tells the girls they can crash the villa whenever they want so the place does not feel empty. Which makes a hyped Karen widen her eyes with pure joy at the official invite. And without a second thought, our MC even promises to hand them a spare key so they can chill there when he is out. Since staying focused on his own plans, he knows having the girls hanging around is the perfect decoy for any nosy spies. Making the overjoyed redhead swear she is gonna annoy the heck out of him every single day. And Lifia, taking the lead, suggests they go check the place out right this second. Whereupon arriving at the estate, the doors swing open to reveal a massive, perfectly manicured garden. And inside, the floors shine like mirrors, showing off high-end furniture packed into every corner. While in the kitchen, everything is already spotless and ready to be used. And in the dining hall, the luxurious chandeliers add the perfect finishing touch to the millionaire villa. With the older sister flashing a gentle smile, enforcing that everything inside is a pure gift with zero strings attached. And mind blown by the details, the MC walks into the master bedroom, just admiring the sheer size of the room. Until annoyed by the quiet, Karen demands the hero spit it out and say if he likes the house or not. Which makes him politely nod, thanking them for the thought, but mentions he would rather just sit on the floor. Because the way he sees it, sitting on those fancy sofas with heavy armor on would be super disrespectful. And sighing deeply, the redhead asks if he refuses to sit down just because he is stubborn, or because he does not want to ruin the furniture. Making him clap back instantly that he is just not tired enough to need a break right now. Which leaves the bratty girl huffing, letting him know he is being a total buzzkill by refusing to get comfortable. And complaining nonstop, she demands payback for using that insanely expensive medicine, just to guilt-trip the warrior. Since deep down, the guy gets that ignoring a noble's request inside his own house would look incredibly bad. Suddenly, the redhead gets a brilliant idea and sprints right over to him. And yanking his armored arm, suggests sitting on his lap since the sofa is apparently off-limits. While Lifia just watches in silence, taking in her little sister's absolute genius. Making the kid totally defeated by mental exhaustion, cave in and accept the bizarre proposal. And right away, the girl makes herself comfortable on the hero's metal leg, catching the guy totally off guard. Who, squeezed between his own stubbornness and noble etiquette, tries to maintain his serious secret agent posture. Until a curious redhead pokes him, asking what he is thinking about so intensely. And trying to dodge the question, our MC jokes that rock-hard armor isn't exactly the comfiest place to take a seat. While across the room, Lifia laughs at the comedy sketch, finding the whole thing super cute. And teasing the hero, the woman jokes that Karen is extremely lucky to snag the lap seat, which leaves the youngest sister blushing, cursing at her older sister and claiming she never asked for a lap, and it was all just a sacrifice for etiquette's sake. Then getting back on track, she points at the warrior, demanding he take off his armor to get comfortable. But with zero chance of taking off the helmet, the kid busts out the classic excuse that he needs to stay ready for any emergency. Because realistically, he mentally admits that taking off his gear right now would be shooting himself in the foot big time. Since if Lifia sees his face, she is gonna figure out instantly that the dude from the clock tower was him. So pulling his hand back, our MC decides the best defense is a solid offense, and carefully places his metal gauntlet on the little redhead's head, giving her a super awkward head pat, leaving the girl furious, stomping her foot and telling him to quit it with the childish head rubs. But ignoring her complaints, the hero just says she won't stop talking his ear off. Then changing the tone of the chat, Karen praises her dad's guts for leaving his two daughters in an isolated place alone with him. Because on paper, the Duke had a million reasons not to trust the stranger. And confirming the guess, Lifia explains that the Lord blindly trusts the agent's savior instincts. Since based on the knight's straight-up honorable vibe, the Duke locked him in as a totally trustworthy guy, leaving the MC impressed by the Lord's street smarts and realizing he is definitely not dealing with amateurs. And shrugging it off, the redhead points out the hero casually dropped a universal elixir, proving he is not in it for the cash, which makes the masked guy nod, letting out a sigh and accepting the trust they placed in him. Then seizing the moment, Lifia formally invites the warrior to grab dinner at the main mansion. But the kid immediately shoots it down without mercy, earning a super confused look from Karen. Because inside he is dreading another face-to-face with the Duke, terrified he might accidentally offend the Lord again. So awkwardly making excuses, he claims things are getting pretty complicated at his top-secret day job. And trying to ease the tension, Lifia tells her sister not to put too much pressure on the busy black hero. But holding on to hope, the little redhead begs him to at least stick around the city for as long as possible. Plus casually mentions that Nina and Ramai are still actively hunting him down, which makes the knight freeze up, remembering the hostages and realizing more VIPs from the Noble Council are snooping around. Until mid-conversation, Lifia flashes a mystery hand signal to her sister without saying a word. And curious, Karen asks what the deal is with the weird hand gesture, leaving her older sister super awkward, who, playing it off completely, swears it was absolutely nothing. But spilling the tea, the redhead snitches that her sister wanted to flip the hero's visor up to sneak a peek at his face, which makes the MC immediately back away, totally spooked by their little home invasion scheme. And laughing at her sister's face, Karen points out that she acts like a goody two-shoes but is actually pretty shameless, leaving Lifia furious, demanding her little sister get off the warrior's lap right this second. However, the knight firmly places his hand on the girl's waist, pinning her down so she cannot get up, surprising her, which leads her to tease her older sister for being jealous while totally enjoying the moment. And noticing the teasing, the MC scans Lifia's face trying to spot even a hint of jealousy, but quickly warns her that a noble lady really shouldn't try to flip his visor in such an invasive way. Suddenly, the woman yanks her hand back hard, startling her little sister, who, boiling with rage, screams demanding to know why he let Lifia go but kept holding her. So justifying his move, the kid states that her older sister is a beautiful adult, and he does not want to give society the wrong idea. And agreeing with the hero, Lifia mentions she gets tons of marriage proposals from the nobility, but with a fun little smile, points out she is still riding solo despite having so many suitors, leaving the MC curious, commenting that it is a massive shock someone that amazing is still single, which makes the noble laugh and explain that guys fall for her, but end up running away embarrassed because of her lack of initiative, since apparently the lady is so stunning that dudes literally cannot keep their cool around her. Because in reality, Lifia is super touch-starved, and whenever guys get close, she accidentally scares off her prey. Then breaking the mood, the little redhead tells her sister to zip it because the conversation is getting way too cringy. And taking advantage of the opening, the older sister pokes Karen, telling her to get off the guy's lap, which leaves the youngest totally confused, not getting the reason behind the sudden scolding. But immediately, the redhead bolts off the couch out of pure embarrassment, setting the warrior free. And throwing his hands up, the hero lets out a sigh of relief for finally escaping the trap. While shocked by her own reaction, Karen tries to play off her panic without even looking at the knight. But deep down, she peeks out of the corner of her eye to check her sister's reaction. And right after, Lifia grabs her little sister's hand, schooling her on how she needs to be way less aggressive if she wants to win someone over. Leaving Karen in absolute shock, since she has never seen her sister act so loose and affectionate like that. With the issue sorted out, the family says their goodbyes, leaving the brand new villa all to the hero. And keeping it formal, Lifia thanks the warrior for his time and wishes him an awesome stay at his new crib. But before heading out, warns him that the official dukedom furniture is showing up in 3 days. And taking the cue, sets up another meeting to go over the security and paperwork for the estate. Which makes the MC, getting the hint, nod in agreement as the youngest drops her head blushing from embarrassment. And with a shy wave, Karen tells him to take care of himself until they meet up again. And wishing her the same, the warrior advises the girl to head straight home and not give her parents a heart attack. Then in the blink of an eye, the redhead yanks her sister, dragging the woman right out the door. And quickly the double doors of the villa slam shut, bringing the hero's crazy day to a close. While outside, the family's luxury carriage rolls out, leaving the warrior all alone in his secret base. Then waving at the carriage, our MC sighs in relief for surviving Hurricane Karen. And immediately pops off his helmet, revealing the kid's sweaty and beat face. Where, free from the heavy burden, he celebrates the chance to finally kick back without being watched. While far away inside the carriage, the two sisters are laughing to themselves over the whole act they just pulled. And keeping it real, Karen confesses she wanted to stay way longer just to mess with the masked guy. Which makes Lifia sigh in agreement, teasing her little sister by bringing up how the guy called her pretty. And joking around, the older sister also points out he used her first name instead of her noble title. Because apparently, their savior hero completely ignored all etiquette rules just to talk to her like a normal person. And maliciously accuses the redhead of sitting on his lap strictly to try and peek at his hidden face. But defending her own actions, Karen reminds her that the guy saved her life, so giving him a headache is the absolute bare minimum she can do. And full of herself states that if he survived her, he can survive literally any challenge Werder throws his way. Then getting thoughtful, the older sister confesses her biggest wish was also to see their savior's face. And joking around, says she is going to sketch his face when they get to the mansion just to cure her sister's curiosity. So in a terrible mental draft, imagines some bizarre monster with spiky hair. Which gets Karen annoyed, criticizing her sister's awful art skills and claiming she can draw 1,000 times better. But deep down, the redhead spaces out, completely losing the thread of the conversation. When suddenly, the memory of the clock tower boy crashes into the girl's mind. And in silence, Lifia notices her little sister's mood shift and gets worried. So trying to snap Karen back to reality. The startled girl blinks a few times, snapping out of her crazy trance. And instantly, the charming face and the scar on the hero's eye are permanently burned into the redhead's memory. Who, hiding a smile, has absolutely zero doubts left about his secret identity. And totally smitten, murmurs about how much the masked guy loves to mess with her heart. While catching onto the riddle, Lifia confirms that the dude from the clock tower really was the hero in disguise. Which makes the confident redhead declare with total certainty. And getting pensive, the youngest asks if her sister thinks the meetup at the tower was just a coincidence. Smartly deducing that he wanted to shake off the spies by blending his armor in with the downtown guards. Because in her head, he already knew the dukedom's carriage would show up at the tower to pick her up. And following that logic, the stranger set the whole thing up just to check if her leg had actually healed up. Making her sigh, completely melting as she calls the top-secret agent an unbelievably sweet guy. And following the girl's reasoning, the warrior blew the divine elixir without his boss's permission strictly to save her leg. And to keep the group from feeling guilty, the dude picked the absolute perfect words, telling them to forget about owing him anything. So analyzing the whole board, Lifia concludes that writing off favors like that is the signature move of someone who is truly overpowered. And aside from healing their wounds, the woman thinks he was keeping watch over the city from afar to guard against the mafia. Wondering in pure awe how he managed to pull all that off without raising a single red flag in the city. And quietly reflecting that every single time she thinks about the masked guy, he seems like a literal walking miracle. Since totally charmed, Lifia views the stranger as the flawless, absolutely perfect warrior. And clutching her chest, the woman sighs softly, calling the guy a straight-up wonderful man. While a hyped Karen cheers, saying she literally cannot wait for the 3 days to pass so she can see the hero again. And noticing her older sister's goofy face, the youngest asks what is running through her mind. Because the way Lifia sees it, the black hero does not want to cash in on a reward because he already loves Karen like a daughter. And totally determined, the sister promises she is going to get closer and closer to the stranger to try and win him over. Until suddenly, she starts plotting a crazy home invasion scheme for the guy's new villa. And smiling wickedly, Lifia knows her dad would have an actual heart attack if he found out about her intentions. Since thanks to the knight's ridiculous power levels, the Duke would never greenlight a romance with the armored hero. Which makes her super curious, wondering how her dad would react if he caught wind of all this interest she has for their savior. While at that exact same time, standing by the inn's door, the owner lets out a loud, cold sneeze. And totally bummed out, complains that he is never gonna see the kid's face around there again. But catching the old man off guard, the MC says he didn't hit the bar last night just because exhaustion hit him like a truck. And already scarfing down a monstrous breakfast, the warrior looks way more relaxed. Reassuring the owner with a mouthful of food, promising to drop by whenever he gets hungry because the grub is just that good. Which makes the guy super happy with the compliment, smile proudly at his own cooking skills. And stoked about their friendship, the old man swears the bar doors will always be open for whenever he wants to crash. So curious, he asks where the hero plans on spending his next few nights in the city. And super fast, the kid drops his fork and spills that he scored a house and is going to live there for a bit, leaving the owner wide-eyed and paralyzed, trying to process the kid's answer. Who casually drops that the Duke himself handed him the property as a gift, making the man almost choke on his own breath, screaming in disbelief at his buddy's absurd luck. And in shock recalls that the guards really wanted to say thanks, but handing over a mansion is straight-up insanity. So completely mind-blown, he warns him that scoring a villa from the Duke is absolutely no joke. But not making a big deal out of it, our MC brushes off the size of the estate, thinking it is all totally normal. So the bar owner drops the knowledge that holding land in the empire is the ultimate status symbol of the nobility. Because using his logic, the Duke tossed him the house just so he wouldn't lose an alliance with a top-tier hero. And hitting him with a heavy stare, questions who the heck this kid really is to be treated like royalty. Trying to drag the truth out from behind the black armor, looking dead serious and focused. Which makes the kid, shaking a little bit, promise he is just an average dude with 0 secret titles. And immediately slam a heavy bag of coins onto the bar table, leaving the owner spooked, jumping at the loud thud of the treasure hitting the wood. While sighing, the hero confesses it is a payout for the old man helping hide him at the inn. But refusing right off the bat, the owner says he is way too terrified to take the masked guy's gold. So throwing down an ultimatum, the MC threatens that if he doesn't take it the easy way, he will make him take it the hard way. Since in reality, the kid feels super guilty for making the owner lie to 3 global superpowers all at once. Then flashing a smile, the old man admits he sweat bullets hiding the kid from the Duke, the church, and the merchants. Because for a hot second, the psychological pressure almost gave him a total heart attack. And nodding along, the hero says he gets the old man's sheer terror, and insists he deserves the prize for keeping his cover intact. And just to keep his clientele happy, says he wants to treat his hosts the best way possible. Making the owner joke and clap back that the knight tried to play the humble card and failed miserably. But in the end, he snags the bag of gold with a genuine smile on his face. And saying goodbye, holds the kid to his promise to swing by the bar again someday. Which makes our MC wave happily, swearing he is gonna show up whenever hunger strikes. And slamming the door behind him, the warrior finally leaves his hideout for good, leaving the place's owner all alone, trying to chill out with his new fat stack of cash. But the second he opens the bag, he almost passes out cold seeing the shiny coins made of pure gold. And shaking with nerves, wonders how a commoner manages to walk around with a literal fortune in his backpack. Then laughing at his own misfortune, the old man realizes that guy is anything but average or normal. While far from there, the cathedral of the Holy Church stands tall as a massive symbol of divine power. Where on the giant pews, the elite nuns kick back and rest up after yet another ceremony. And teasing the youngest, the older sister squishes the girl's cheeks to grab her attention. Smiling, the older nun lovingly checks out the healed face of her sister Nina, who got her eyesight back. Being Marie Qualier herself, the top boss and the super protective sister of the girl healed by the masked guy. Then trying to dodge the cheek squishes, Nina complains that Marie has already done that over 7 times today. But pretending not to care, her sister says she is doing it on purpose and is literally never gonna stop. Which makes the youngest scold her, warning that her older sister's slang and posture are completely terrible. And pulling her ear, argues that crossing her legs on the pew completely ruins her holy nun aesthetic. Making Marie fake a cough, awkwardly fixing her posture so nobody catches the church leader looking like a slacker. And instantly locking in, shifting into her divine posture in the blink of an eye. Where, looking absolutely stunning, she proves she knows exactly how to fake being the untouchable saint whenever there is an audience around. But right away, Nina calls out her sister's totally fake act, seeing how fast she flips her personality. And defending her own vibe, Marie claps back that ever since the youngest got her sight back, she has become a total stickler for the rules. Since in the older woman's eyes, dropping your guard every now and then is super healthy and keeps the stress of leadership away. Which makes an exhausted Nina point out that her sister's little breaks do not happen every now and then, but literally every single day. Except staring at the altar, Marie could not care less about the lectures and just smiles, super relieved to see her little sister this happy again. And celebrating the miracle, prays to give thanks for all the little things her sister gets to enjoy now. Because deep down she knows that before the kidnapping, Nina walked around looking totally drained and lifeless. Then with a surprised sigh, Marie mumbles that the Black Knight really pulls off some unbelievable stuff. And bursting with pride, remembers the guy saved her little sister, and even burned a legendary potion on her for absolutely free. But correcting the facts, Nina points out he used the god-tier items on all 3 hostages, not just her. Admitting with a racing heart that she is absolutely crushing on the hero because of his amazing gesture. Which makes Marie curious, wanting to know if the warrior is her little sister's exact type. And laughing, the church leader says the rookies shouldn't aim so high for a hero who is definitely swamped with options. Because using the older sister's logic, any dude throwing around divine potions for free is gonna attract a flood of thirsty girls back in the capital. Picturing the mob, Marie jokes that Nina would have hundreds of love-struck rivals all gunning for the armored guy. Leaving the youngest annoyed by the teasing, puffing out her cheeks and telling her sister to pipe down. Which makes Marie find the whole scene adorable, cracking up at the novice's super obvious jealousy over the secret agent. Until a nun interrupts their little joke session, announcing that the church leaders need to clock back into their duties right now. And snapping back to her holy posture, Marie accepts the call and stands up. With both sisters wearing chill expressions, perfectly tapping into the sacred side of the Force. And Nina quickly agrees to follow the older one straight to the altar. While Marie, flashing a sly side-eye smile, locks in on her own master plans involving the miracle warrior. And together, the Qualier sisters head back to the center of the Holy Church, totally devoted to their own mission. When 3 days after the rescue, the 2 church sisters are waiting on the edge of their seats to reunite with the Black Knight. Because in their memories, the armored hero is still an absolute legend and an imposing powerhouse. Until totally wiped out from the brutal daily grind, platinum blonde Nina sighs and crashes onto a garden bench. And just then the hot-headed Karen pops out of nowhere, teasing her friend for slacking off on the job. Making the novice jump out of her skin in surprise, defending herself saying she is just on her officially scheduled break. And making a joke of it, the redhead points out it has been a minute since they hung out, but the nun claps back saying she didn't even book an appointment to be there. So letting out a sassy little laugh, the tiny noble just tells her buddy to chill out and sit back down. And wasting zero time, grabs her spot on the bench right next to the platinum blonde. Where, in a super relaxed vibe, the 2 of them chill in the tree shade to catch up on all the gossip. Then getting curious, Nina asks why the little redhead showed up flying solo without her older sister. And getting straight to the point, Karen explains that Lifia is inside tied up with the church folks. Making the nun connect the dots, and conclude that this surprise pop-in means the Duke's family actually managed to thank the hero. And full of hype, celebrates that she is finally gonna get to formally meet their savior. So with a cheeky grin, the redhead spills that her older sister got completely obsessed with the knight. And to paint a picture of the gossip, mentions that Lifia practically lives sitting on the black armor's lap now. Because according to her, the sister wouldn't get off the warrior even while complaining her butt was hurting. Which leaves the platinum blonde amazed by the story, realizing their savior really does have some magnetic riz. And completely melting, the redhead confesses he is straight up the most wonderful person she has ever met in her entire life. Leaving Nina shocked by such a bold statement, listening to her friend swear she will get the hype the second she meets him. Then changing the topic, the nun wants to know what kind of insane reward the dukedom tossed him at the meeting. And practically begging, asks for the juicy details just so she has a baseline of what her people should offer too. Justifying her curiosity by explaining her own family is still clueless on what to give him without looking cheap or rude. Which makes Karen, putting on a mystery face, agree to spill everything on the condition that her buddy keeps her trap shut around Marie. And leaning right into the novice's ear, starts whispering the loot list, revealing right off the bat that the hero scored an entire luxury villa all to himself. And following that up by casually dropping that he got an astronomical amount of cold, hard cash. Plus, capping off the bundle confirms they handed over the official family crest, completing the 3 gifts. Making Nina completely outraged, widen her eyes and ask if that was seriously it. Since by the nun's math, that absolute pocket change doesn't even cover the universal elixir he blew on the rescue. And shaking with embarrassment, the redhead agrees it was totally weak, but points out the family had zero choice. Leaving the platinum blonde completely lost, tilting her head as she tries to process that pathetic excuse for a payout. But defending him, Karen swears the Black Warrior shot down the bigger prizes on purpose, which the nun straight up refuses to believe, thinking it is a prank because literally nobody on Earth would turn down more power and gold. So with a dead serious look, the redhead stays quiet, proving she is spitting straight facts. And backing up her point, reminds her she warned her from the start about his absolute heart of gold. And to make matters even crazier, spills that her own dad felt totally humiliated by the masked guy's massive aura. Making a shell-shocked Nina listen to how the almighty Duke is racking his brain, trying to figure out how to handle the hero moving forward. Since according to the Lord's logic, a dude who does not want anything is straight up impossible to manipulate in a negotiation. And every single time the knight's name pops up in conversation, the redhead's dad loses his smile on the spot. So hearing this news, the platinum blonde figures their savior must be a literal political monster to scare the Duke like that. And smiling in relief, the nun points out how insanely lucky they were to be rescued by someone so unreal. With Karen fully agreeing, noting that only a guy ranking higher than the nobles would have the guts to pick a fight with the mafia. Which makes the novice ask straight up if Lifia seriously buys that the knight is part of the Verdure elite. And confirming the theory, the redhead reveals her dad gave strict orders to never, under any circumstances, make an enemy out of the hero. Which, based on the facts on the table, makes the platinum blonde realize that trying to pay off an Empire elite soldier is a near impossible mission. And looking thoughtful, notes that the agent holds a level of influence that not even the entire church could flex on. Then flashing back to the meetup, Karen brings up the bizarre detail that he looked way more hyped about the spare change than the royal crest. Leaving Nina totally mind-blown, freaking out and saying that breaks all logical sense. After all, any random merc can stack gold by grinding, but a ducal crest is literally unbuyable. Since the crest is essentially a lifetime VIP pass that guarantees maximum protection from a filthy rich family. But then it hits the nun. If he is Verdure, he already has the Emperor backing him up, making the crest totally useless. And with stars in her eyes, the little redhead defends him, saying he prefers hard cash just so he can hand it out to the poor and needy. Because in her innocent little mind, the Dark Warrior is an armored Robin Hood looking out for the underdogs. Making the platinum blonde see through her friend's delusions, mentally agreeing and casually mentioning that her sister Marie would absolutely adore the masked guy. Leaving the redhead confused, not getting where her friend pulled that random conclusion from. And full of pride, the tiny noble sticks her nose in the air, acting like the undisputed #1 expert on the hero. But ruining the vibe, Nina warns her friend that she has absolutely zero room to judge Lifia since she is drooling over him the exact same way. Which leaves the hothead dying of embarrassment, threatening to snitch to the knight that the nun is also catching major feelings. So to cool things off, the platinum blonde shifts focus, hyping up that the day to meet the guy is finally getting closer. And thinking back, the redhead confesses she almost had a total meltdown when nobody could find the armored giant in the city. Making the honest nun vent that she was terrified he might have gotten severely punished for blowing the divine elixir. But raising her finger, Karen promises the warrior would chew her out for sitting around feeling guilty. And quoting the hero, says he would much rather see them enjoying their freedom instead of crying over his drama. leaving the platinum blonde touched by the message, clasping her hands in pure relief and thanking her for sharing that. Then jogging her memory, the noble mentions he seemed way more annoyed than actually worried about his bosses. And based on her analysis, he has so many successful missions under his belt that the organization would not even dare fire him. Which makes Nina sigh in agreement, saying that cocky attitude perfectly matches their savior's whole vibe. And together, they agree the warrior is the kind of dude who never backs down when he knows he is in the right. So getting anxious for the meetup, the nun wants to know how much longer the masked guy plans on hanging around the area. And smiling, the redhead explains he dodged the dinner invite claiming to be busy, but promised he is not pulling a disappearing act anytime soon. Assuming he spends his late nights running secret patrols and saving innocent folks in the city's dark alleys. Making the blushing novice put a hand over her heart, gushing about how unbelievably cool the guy is. So wanting to hook her buddy up, Karen flashes a sly grin and decides to drop a piece of golden intel. Whispering the secret that the hero usually grabs lunch every single day at this low-key inn called LD. Which makes the platinum blonde's face instantly light up, realizing she already has the absolute perfect game plan for her next lunch break. Except suddenly spooked, she figures out her friend's crazy scheme and totally panics. And awkwardly stutters, saying she hasn't even properly thanked the hero yet to just go chasing after him like a stalker. Bailing in the blink of an eye and sprinting off at Mach 10, leaving the redhead in the dust. Who, completely confused, mutters asking if her friend is seriously just going to ditch her there. Meanwhile, out on the city streets, our Black Knight is just casually strolling along. And soon pushes open the wooden door, stepping right into his favorite inn. Completely unaware that the platinum blonde had basically interrogated the bartender about the VIP client's schedule. When suddenly a super weird vibe takes over the room and he freezes right at the door. Catching the innkeeper sweating under heavy pressure, trying to dodge questions by claiming it is classified intel. But backed into a corner, the poor old man folds and spills the exact time the night usually rolls up. Which makes our MC, with a massive sweat drop rolling down his face, instantly realize the old guy was psychologically tortured. While flashing back to the interrogation, the novice demands to know exactly where the warrior likes to sit. And locked onto the mission, the armored bodyguard drops her voice, demanding some crystal-clear answers. Making the terrified owner frantically point straight to the exact table over in the corner. Where, menu in hand, the nun asks what the last meal the masked guy devoured was. And pointing right at the page, the old man shows her the grub, and the platinum blonde orders the exact same thing. Which leaves the kid frozen at the tavern door, mourning the massive trauma the girls just inflicted on the poor innkeeper. Seriously debating doing a 180 and bolting because of the terrifying bodyguard. However, his stomach does the talking and our warrior decides to go face the beast. And with heavy steps he walks into the dining room, praying the vibe mellows out a bit. But that hope dies real fast when he catches the armored woman's absolute death glare. Making the bar owner, desperate from all the tension, throw his hands up begging everyone to just chill. So with the pressure through the roof, the masked guy tries to act natural so he doesn't make things any worse. And in dead silence walks right past the two women, praying to stay completely off their radar. Laser focused on his destination and playing dumb as he heads straight for the counter. The second he sits down, the warrior lady locks her eyes right onto the hero's back. Making the kid freeze in pure terror, wondering why dead silence just hijacked the entire bar out of nowhere. And keeping her guard up, the armed woman tells the platinum blonde to stay put, getting a nervous nod in return. Soon, heavy footsteps echo across the wooden floor, marching straight toward the hero. Which makes the old bartender sprint to the counter, pretending to serve the customer real quick like an absolute guardian angel. And whispering in his ear, the owner thanks the guy for showing up, promising to serve him the best grub in the house. But the peace does not last long when the novice pulls up right behind him, wanting the giant's attention. So turning slightly, the knight looks over his shoulder, trying his best to keep his cover intact. And glowing with a straight-up divine aura, the girl smiles from ear to ear, thrilled to finally track him down. Zooming in, the tiny gold crucifix dangles from the anxious nun's hands. And right next to it, a magic pendant shines, flexing the girl's high-tier status in the church. Then with a super sweet voice, she asks if the Black Knight still remembers her face. And trying to play it cool, the kid fakes being surprised, dropping the girl's name with totally fake joy. Leaving the novice completely melting at the answer, blushing and thanking him for noticing she is looking super healthy. Then he turns to the grumpy warrior and asks her to chill out and cut the bartender some slack, which makes the bodyguard get the memo instantly, apologizing for her aggressive vibe. And the old man quickly tries to smooth things over, waving his hands in the air and letting the woman off the hook. Back to the chat, the masked guy compliments her nun outfit, admitting he almost didn't recognize her, making the platinum blonde do a graceful little spin, asking if the uniform looks good on her. And behind his visor, the kid agrees, thinking the fit is going to look flawless once she is a bit older. Then, smiling bright, the girl thanks him for the compliment, and the hero finally realizes the heavy flex of saving someone from the top brass. And without hesitating, the novice takes a step forward, closing the gap between them, with the bodyguard hyper-focused on the movement, tracking everything closely without jumping in. But faced with this total invasion of personal space, the kid backs up a bit, feeling pretty awkward. And to break the ice, asks how the girl's eyesight is holding up after the miracle cure. Practically glued to his helmet, the platinum blonde locks eyes on the metal and replies her vision is totally flawless, which makes him hold up some fingers to test the girl, and she nails the count without even blinking. And deep down, the guy cracks a genuine smile, relieved to see the mission wrapped up with total success. While full of emotion, the nun confesses how insanely happy she is to finally look at her own family's faces after so many years. And the knight quickly apologizes for bringing up the trauma, but she tells him to stop beating himself up. So playing the protector role, the hero advises the girl to just live a happy life, so the sacrifice was actually worth it. And with a hand on her chest, the novice swears up and down that she is gonna do her absolute best every single day. Soon the innkeeper rolls up, totally killing the mood with the steaming hot plates on his tray. And in seconds, the table is loaded with awesome grub eggs, meat, and veggies for everyone, leaving the MC spooked by the mountain of food, asking if the girl actually ordered the supersized portion. And in a good mood, the hero warns her that it is a ton of food for a novice to take down all at once, which makes her admit with a goofy smile that she came to the inn specifically to try the exact same dish he always eats. So thinking fast, the guy totally gets the sudden cravings of curious girls. And playing it cool, promises that if she cannot finish it all, the squad will help clear the table for her, making the bodyguard and the nun say thanks in perfect sync for the Black Knight's kindness. And casually, the masked guy tells them both to dig in before the food gets cold, where on the plate the perfect fried egg and juicy meat practically glow, grabbing everyone's attention. And respecting their holy roots, the two clasp their hands for a quick prayer. Right after, the platinum blonde goes in for the first bite looking super eager, which makes her face instantly light up with pure joy as she praises the insane flavor of the seasoning. And stoked by her reaction, the kid agrees that the old bartender has the absolute best hands in the kitchen. Suddenly, the bar owner slams a wooden mug on the table hard, trying to act like a total tough guy, which leaves the warrior confused by the weird flex, but the old guy whispers that he only did it to scare away his own nerves. And with a deadpan look, the hero realizes all of the owner's dramatic acting is 100% his fault. To cap off the scene, the novice drops a little giggle, commenting on the duo's hilarious friendship. And with a chill tone, our MC mentions that they get along great. Then the bar owner, sweating bullets, complains that the masked guy never talks about his high society connections, and right away the platinum blonde jumps into the chat, agreeing that dealing with secretive people is a huge pain. But instantly, the old man realizes his massive screw-up and freezes in terror for casually talking to a noble, and almost having a heart attack, tries to fix his blunder by swapping to a super formal tone, choking on his words out of pure panic. And not letting the moment slide, the kid calls out the slip-up, telling the guy he totally lost his cool and slid right back into casual talk. Immediately, the hero turns to the bodyguard and asks her to let the innkeeper's slip slide just this once, and with a firm voice, the armored warrior accepts the truce, stating she will look the other way as long as the novice isn't offended. And with a sweet smile, Nina swears she is not upset at all. In fact, the girl even asks the old man to keep talking casually, exactly like the Black Warrior does, causing the poor owner, with comical tears streaming down his face, to practically beg to be spared from this crazy idea and all that insane psychological pressure. Having a blast with the chaos, our MC confesses he finds the old man's frozen reaction absolutely hilarious, and annoyed by the teasing, the guy yells that any normal person would be terrified, and that the masked dude is the actual weirdo in this story. Getting back to her meal, the nun calmly starts slicing up her meat and fried egg with a knife, taking a quick break from all the chit-chat. But suddenly, the vibe flips completely, and she apologizes for dropping such a direct question out of nowhere. Caught off guard by the sudden tension, both gays stare at the girl in silence as she warns them she has something super serious to ask. And with the magic pendant glowing in her hands, the girl reveals that her free time outside the church is strictly limited. With the golden jewel sparkling intensely up close, shooting out sparks of light and flexing the massive weight of the divine responsibility the novice carries on her chest.